Welcome back. I am Dayla, the Demon Whisperer, and it is my pleasure to bring you this hopefully short video. I wanted to kind of talk about something that I mentioned in one of our recent episodes when we were talking about the spiritual YouTubers who kind of hang out as grifters, maybe even scam artists. I wanted to cover that a little bit more in detail because I did mention one very important law, and I'm not talking about the popo. I'm talking about the cosmos. I want to talk a little bit today about the universal law of compensation. But first, let me give us a little, maybe a house rule or two. I think house rule number 1 is quite opposite to what we might be used to, but I feel it in my spirit, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. This is absolutely a no judgment zone, okay? This is a place where you cannot come. We are at Dayla, the Demon Whisperer's house. Now, Dayla Clem Dayla may say this is not a no judgment zone for that purpose over there. But over here, this is a no judgment zone. I'm talking to the people that want to come over here and judge and tell us what to think when you can't prove anything. This is a no judgment zone. House rule number 2. I'm gonna keep it funky like I do. This ain't for churn. This ain't for churn. And the reason I say that because I am. So I'm gonna say the way I say. House rule number 3. Just like house rule number 1, please stay on topic. In the comments, in the chat, I thank you so much for contributing to this channel, to this episode, to this understanding, to this community. And speaking of community, please, thank you for reminding me. Thank you to those of you who have joined us on Patreon. We are Dayla the Demon Whisperer on Patreon. And it has been my pleasure for us to start that community so that we can grow and have all these other conversations. So shout outs to our new and old patrons. I'll look forward to seeing more of you over there. So let's dig into it. I want to talk about the universal law of compensation. It's not anything I hear about often, but it is something I live by. And I'm going to put it in my own words first. But I did bring us a good old intellectually stimulating piece of material for the sapiosexuals in the house. For the sapiosexuals in the house, baby. Give me something to think about. Okay. Let's get into it. In my own words. Now let me just tell you a little bit of my story and how I came to understand and value the universal law of compensation. As many of us have been raised to believe, there are certain things that make us valuable and put us in the world as a person who has the potential and the aptitude and the capacity to earn a lot of money. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Money, material wealth, material growth, increase, income. Okay? Many of us have been told that this thing will make you valuable and allow you to earn more money. This thing will, this thing will, this thing will. Well, some of that is true and some of that may not necessarily be true. And there is a law that serves as a litmus test that will allow us to gauge whether or not our output deserves more income or whether or not we need to beef up our output, so to speak, fine tune, hone, develop our output, or maybe just do a little more to increase our income. So let me give you a couple of examples of where the law of compensation works, and then we'll talk about the intellectual material that I have that is so stimulating. My mother always helped me understand that the reason why there are some people on the planet who can be absolutely evil but still quite rich is because they give. She said the key is to give. She said when you give, when you're a giver, and what comes to mind for many of us are philanthropists. When you are a benefactor, when you are someone that gives of your abundance, not your necessity, take care of your own self first. But if you are one who gives of your abundance and is who can be known as a generous person, then it's very likely that you have turned in, tapped in, and tuned into the law of compensation, whether you know it or not. Now, I'm going to give you another understanding of compensation where I've seen it abused. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about the church. Because that damn tithe and that motherfucking offering is some bullshit. Okay? Because there is a difference between being generous and expecting nothing back from where you give it. Okay? Which is usually philanthropy. Okay? There's a difference between that and hoping that a God actually gives you back based on what you've given. Well, that's backwards. That's what we would spiritually call hustling backwards. So let me step into that arena for a second and have that conversation about the tithe and the offering and whether or not you should be sensibly expecting something in return from the God that you give to. I'm so glad we started this channel so we could talk honestly. Y'all hear me taking out my notes? Yeah, I'm going to have to take some. So when it comes to the tithe and the offering, it's kind of ass backwards the way it's been taught to Christians. Because anybody understands that you work before you get paid. Right? I mean, I just had a beautiful conversation with someone who works at the university where my mother worked before she passed away. And when my mother passed away, she literally was working on her deathbed. I'm laughing because Capricorns. She literally was working on her deathbed. And I had a beautiful conversation with someone this morning because we are researching her unpaid income. Work she did 2 years ago. But she had to do the work first. Her employment has been verified. It has been verified that she passed away in the course of her duties, wasn't terminated, nothing like that. Okay? Never voluntarily resigned, just, deuced out on us. But those things had to be verified. Did she do some work that we owe her money for? Oh, okay. We're able to verify that she did some work. Now let me go do that research on that income for you, daughter. And I'm shouting out and grateful to the person doing that research for me. Because mama reminded me, I did some work before I died. See, people were paying my mom, sending her checks for work. And she was like, no, you got to send that check back. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that work. But other work she was able to do that she got paid for on the back end. And my mother reminded me a couple days ago, I did some work before I die. I need you to go get my money, honey. So she gave me a couple phone numbers and I made a couple phone calls, okay? The point of me saying all that is, why does it make any sense for anybody to pay tithes and offerings hoping that their God does something for them? That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And only Christians get caught up in that. And it was an African God who said to me, you got all these fat ancestors and you still living in this raggedy ass apartment in Rugao, China. And if you really want something, you gonna have to put out the holdout on these ancestors and make them get some work done so they can get paid. You making them meals, you burning them candles, you pouring out libations. You putting money on the altar. You putting ganja on the altar. And what are they doing for you? So that beautiful, loving, self-loving goddess said to me, you gonna have to start holding out on your ancestors and these gods until they do the work. Okay, done. Life improved spectacularly. Moved from that little raggedy ass apartment in Rugao to a much better place. Was able to expand my income, have my baby beautifully, have an amazingly beautiful life, because I finally stopped treating my ancestors like I was taught to treat the Christian God. I started making them work for me first. They're on assignment now. Don't you know? A couple of them came back and was like, we would like an extension on this project. We know them niggas finally left you alone, but just in case they decide to pop up again, just in case, can we please still stand guard in this same position? Yes, you may, Uncle Billy. Yes, you may, Aunt Carma Lee. Yes, you may, Grandmother Sevilla. Yes, you may. Because they like to fight anyway. You good, honey. So my point is, and we ain't even got to the conversation yet, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this part of it up. I don't understand why you pay tithes and offering and you still broke. You ain't got shit to show. It don't make no sense to me. Think about it for a moment, because this is a no judgment zone. Therefore, you can't come in here with your shit and splatter all over the place. I want you to think for a moment. If it tickles you, if it fuzzies you, if it triggers you, if it make your feet hurt a little bit, that's because I'm probably stepping on your toes. If you paying tithes and offerings to a God, hoping something happens, ain't that hustling backwards? Because niggas don't like to prepay for shit. So what the fuck are you doing? Okay, so let's get to the conversation before I piss somebody off. Let's talk about the universal law of compensation. And you know I'm going straight to the Googles. Okay? Okay? All right. So there is an AI definition that I think is very on point. And I'd like us to dive into it a little bit. Excuse me. I didn't plan to film right now. I ain't got no water or nothing. Now, the universal law of compensation is the idea that people receive what they give and that there is a balance of reciprocity in life. Okay? I'm going to read that again. The universal law of compensation is the idea. Okay? It is simply an idea. Don't argue with it because you're wasting your breath. It's just an idea, just like Jesus. Just like Santa Claus. Man, somebody got mad at that. The universal law of compensation is the idea that people receive what they give. Now, I know that we're thinking right now back to the philanthropist, back to the benefactor, back to the tithes and the offerings, and that's all well and good. But there's somewhere else we can think about. Because many of us say to ourselves, how can I give? I got all this need. How in the world am I supposed to turn on this law, tap into it, tune into it, and use it in such a way when I'm really scraping just to have what I need. Listen, I got you. Because you are more than your money, honey. And while we want to receive in the physical, because we are physical beings, you are able to expand your giving beyond the physical. So we'll talk about it. Okay? The beautiful thing about you is that you are multidimensional. Therefore, you can give in one place and receive in another. That is the idea of the philanthropist, of the benefactor. They know that they can give in one place and receive in another. For many of them, they give to St. Jude's and they receive from the IRS. Uh-huh. Now, the idea is that people receive what they give and that there is a balance or reciprocity in life, okay? It's an extension of the law of cause and effect, which we might need to talk about a little bit, but it's pretty self-explanatory and is specific to the compensation in the physical world, okay? It's specific to the compensation in the physical world, not necessarily the giving in the physical world, okay? So here's some things to know about the universal law of compensation. I want to take a look at this excerpt from this Ralph Waldo Emerson essay. I've always been attracted to the writing of Ralph Waldo Emerson. So I want to go ahead and include this here. Excuse me. Thank you. The Ralph Waldo Emerson essay is considered a seminal text in American literature. In it, it argues that everything in the universe operates according to the principle of compensation, and that people who live in accordance with it will experience balance and fulfillment. Now, that's been my experience. And I'll let you know this. I ain't read through none of this. So, if I'm flabbergasted or hard, you're probably going to get that real quick. Because I haven't reread this or pre-read this. I trust what I see. Because I know things. Compensation can come in many forms. Compensation can come in abundance, relationships, opportunities, good health, loyal friends, and more. Now, focus on contribution. Okay? That's the key. For many people, I'll say this. I put it in these words. One of the signs of an immature person is their selfishness. One sign of a person who is mature and developed and experienced is that they are contributors. They provide value for existence rather than taking from it. That's, when I was a young woman, my mother explained to me, I think I was about 23 years old. And I was bawling like a motherfucker, baby. And I explained to my mama that I wanted to start taking over some of my daddy's bills. Just give them a break a little bit. Because they had done so much for me. And my mother was like, absolutely freaking not. No, this is not time for that. She said, there is a time in life where you get to focus completely on yourself. And then there is a time in life where you focus on your children. And then there is a time when you focus on your parents. You are not at those second and third times yet. Right now is the time when you focus on yourself. So I did. And I enjoyed that time. And then when it was time for me to focus on my parents, I had the energy. I had the wherewithal. I had the capacity. I even had the savings. I could do it effortlessly because that was the time. And my mother told me, she said, you'll know when the time is. I would do little things like, call down to the gas company and pay their bill. And then my mom would tell me, Jesus is good because somebody paid their gas bill. I'm Jesus. I'll be Jesus today. Thank you. And you welcome. But no, literally, my mother explained that to me. There's a time in life where you contribute. And then there's a time in life when you receive. She said right now, you up until a person is a certain age, like 25, 30, You could be ball out, stupid, crazy, and the universe is going to take care of you. Your community is going to provide for you. But after you turn 30, up until the time you turn about 40 or 50, you focus on your kids. And you can use them as an excuse not to give nothing to nobody. But then once you turn about 50, them kids should be grown and on their own, and you might need to contribute to your parents' well-being a little bit more. And that's where your priority will be expected to be. Feel me? So this says focus on contribution. The law of compensation is not just about earning more money, but about increasing your value by focusing on your contribution rather than your reward. I think it's important to understand that. And I think I'm actually going to read that Ralph Waldo Emerson essay, and I will release that as an episode so that we're able to hear that together. Let me read this little piece here. There's a couple of pieces. The law of compensation states that what you do affects what you get. In other words, you get what you give. Your reality is what you think about. Okay? The principle of sowing and reaping, giving and receiving, and doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay, now this goes on to say there's 3 laws of compensation. I like that. So think about, when you think about the value you provide, and it says according to Bob Proctor, who's one of my faves. Okay, shout out to Bob Proctor. I was gonna say that's probably Bob Proctor in this video, in this picture. It is. That's Bob Proctor. This says there's 3 major points. 1, the need for what you do. 2, your ability to do it. And 3, the difficulty there is in replacing you. Now, we got to this conversation because we were talking about a YouTuber who I'll keep his name to myself until I need to say it again. Okay, let there be peace. I don't like to have to cut people's heads off. I leave that to Kali, honey. So I think he might have got the message, or if he didn't, he chilled. Okay, but the begging gotta stop if you ain't providing no value. I think it was Donald Lawrence who said, see yourself in the future. He said, start a business, write a book, score a film. If you're that much of a person that deserves so much, create something that people can invest in. Or just provide more value to the existence and watch the things in your life line up accordingly. The things you can touch, the things you can feel, the things you can experience, the things you can glean from and gain from. Okay? Gone are the days when we think we just doing good and not getting nothing in return and not understanding. Turn on the law of compensation. I'm going to let y'all go for now because I think I'm going to pull out a bigger device and take a look at Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay so we can kind of learn from that together in the next episode. So for now, that's all I got. That's it, girl. You got it.
I'm trying to finish my show now. Bye.
I'll holler.